Please make the thing go. Pretty please. We should be broadcasting. Yeah, there we go. Audio should be good. Levels should be good. I just have to finish up with the graphs, which means we're going to start a little bit late because I was waiting for renders to finish. Oh, fuck. One more set. CKB. 45, save that, source it. Yeah, no, Noisy Gamer, nothing's happened with Plex. Nothing to see here. No big deal. Okay, so we got that queuing. Now I need this week's graphs. Just double check. See if Moongoo's fallen through the floor yet. Aw, come on, don't be that way. Jesus Christ, dysprosium. I just must not know what the fuck I'm talking about sometimes when I open this. Mercury, neodymium, platinum is down. Vanadium is on the way up. Okay. Friends. Okay, and then last group is to double check. The outliers, make sure I didn't miss anything. Rocket launcher 2s are a little interesting. Let's add them. Rocket launcher 2s. How have you been, Internet? Hopefully it is a good week for you. I couldn't get any real work done today, IRL, thanks to the Plex announcement. Had my phone blowing up all day about it. Vetoes. I mean, I'm glad that they released it on a Thursday rather than a Friday. Really glad about that. But, man, sometimes it's hard to keep up. That's my problem. And I mean, and also I got to thank Fozzie was saying he shared the blog with some Icelandic industrial economists, which I would love to talk more with those guys, because that sounds like a group I would love to have a beer with. Don't care. Oh, we have special request of melted nanoribbons. Don't want to forget that. I should stop tapping. That's got to be really annoying. Oh, Jesus, we talked about that last week. Okay, I want to know whoever fixed the profiles in Google Docs when they updated and made each of the styles of pages different shapes, different sizes. They're all the same aspect ratio, but some are larger than others, and when I drop images on them, they don't always fill out the way they're supposed to. Nitrogen isotopes are still high. Nitrogen isotopes. Hyperfluorite, we're already going to talk about. Oh, well, hyperfluorite's is a middle component. All right, I think we've got those covered. That means we just have to do Cheetah, ZKB, double check our top kills of the week. Stero, Proteus, and Tengu. Do I care? I don't think I care. Rattlesnake. Why is the... Oh, you fucking kidding me? They don't... Fucking bugs. Bugs, man, bugs. Tengu, Rattlesnake, Vexer. VNI is a little interesting. Macarial, nope. Gila. Looks like it should be falling, but isn't. Do I want to talk about the Gila? No, I don't have enough slides left to talk about the Gila. And the Ishtar bouncing back. We'll talk about the Ishtar. Okay. I know, I'm going to get all sorts of shitty comments in the YouTube live stream about how unprofessional I am and how blah 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 it should be edited better, and well, the edit will be out the next day, and then I can get a whole bunch of salty comments baiting about how I should love Ryan Care. That was my favorite today. Really tempted to do a name and shame on that one because it was just bonkers. I made some offhand comment about how I don't appreciate the way the news is going lately, and somebody went full like Chan bait on the thing, and it was one of the funnier comments I've ever seen. That's for sure. Okay, and then we need top 5 regions. I mean, my modus operandi on that stuff is just, if you're going to be a dick, I'm going to ban you. Like, I don't pretend to have some fucking free speech zone. This is a data show. This is a market show, and I really don't have any fucking patience for partisan horse shit. I know, now I'm just feeding it even more, so I'll get more partisan horse shit. So, whatever. Fight me, you reasoned intellectual bros. 1v1 at the sun. I'm not half as funny as I think I am. Alright, so... Is Dirk actually coming to the show this week? It's on Noisy, which I always like having Noisy. I didn't know if we'd get Dirk tonight. Mute that. I just like fucking... Like, if you're going to do it for comedy, like, be funnier, I guess is my problem. It's, like, I get that edgelord comedy is a thing, as much as many the people who think they're good at it aren't. But a live stream event on the site. Yeah, go. So, we're going to be a little bit late starting because, well, I'm just behind. It's been a busy week. Let's get on the real news and stop bitching about politics. Like meta bitching about politics, not even the real politics anymore. Progress this week. So I pushed a pull request to the Robinhood app in Angelic Rage. That one's a good one. For those who may not know, Robinhood is a no fees trading platform. That's all mobile first and Skookum. Like, I think you have to do most of the trades on the phone, which is kind of a part that pisses me off. You can't just log into a front page. But they have a pretty extensive API, and a buddy turned me on to a Python library that did a lot of the connectors you wanted. Like, it was basically wrappers for all of the REST APIs, which is great. But then I opened it up and I'm like, oh my god. So one, it wasn't importable or packageable, which is a problem. Means that if you want to include it in your project, you have to do a get submodule add, which no, submodules are, if you have to do get submodules, you're going to have a bad time. They're really awful. It's a way to include one project inside another project, Russian nesting doll style. I mean, they're there for a reason, and there's a lot of C projects where you will use them, but if you have to do it in Python, like, just don't. And then it's an app. The library executes trade orders, but has no tests. So, oh man, do I get skeevy about trusting that when I call a API that executes expensive money orders, that there's no tests on it, there's no error wrappers, there's no nothing. It works and you pray. And I'm like, oh my god, no. So I pushed a 1,200 line pull request that made it so they can release to PyPI, added tests for everything except for the trading thing, because I had to have, I didn't buy any stocks until today. I index funds. I bought QQQ, so there were a few endpoints I just couldn't test because they were empty, and just went ahead and did it and did that for him. So no feedback on it yet. Also, it makes it Python 2, Python 3 compatible, which was a thing that they were getting complaints about, that like it was written Py 2 and then you were supposed to run this converter to make it Py 3, which the converter, 2 to 3 is kind of a sledgehammer. It's not really a scalpel. So fixed all that, put tests on everything, have something like 80% coverage. That was my thing of the week. And then the other project, which is Eve related, is that I still want to bring you guys a forecasting endpoint. But I had to rewrite the entire Flask architecture because I did it wrong before. Nobody... The documentation, like, Flask is nice, and it's great for really, really small web apps, but Jesus crap does it have terrible documentation. Like, you have to get indoctrinated to understand how to fucking use the thing. And that's such a pain in the ass. So, like, I wrote it originally. We have a endpoint powering Eve Mogul's site, so you can do candlesticks on Eve Mogul. And, I mean, that's great. Veronica did a great job on their half. And ever since I wrote an installer for the thing, it hasn't gone down. But then I was looking through the stuff to make it testable because, you know, I'm more than happy to put a hack together on one weekend. But if I'm going to do any major rework, if I'm going to do a V2, like if I figured out a thing and I'm going to go make it better, I'm going to go do it right. I'm going to add tests. I'm going to make it packageable. I'm going to make it releasable. Do the whole thing. Be super try hard. And so when I was looking into testing Flask, it's like, yeah, your app should look like this. And I'm like, that's nice. My app looks nothing like that. And when I try to make it look like that, I break the whole fucking namespace because if you put code inside init.py, you break package loading. And I'm having such a hard time trying to get the whack-a-mole done where, you know, I can put code in init.py and I can import things that are next to me and I can execute code that's in init.py. It's such a pain in the ass. I really shouldn't wear this bluish shirt. It's really screwing up the white balance. I look super pale. So that was the dev fleet stuff this week. Oh, so, and then the last part of the Flask problem is that I still feel completely like I am terrified to open up my databases to the general public. Just because it's a security nightmare, for one. And for two, like, I have no replication. Like, it's total amateur hour up in there. And you have to deal with all of the, if my schema is shit, or if I don't have it replicated so that it'll actually, you know, grab the right data. I don't have, I have backups, but they're not in a, you know, proper way that would make web development a good idea. Like, and I just don't think I can make it performant. And so I've like avoided it at all costs. I've basically come up to that line and been like, man, when I cross that line, we have a lot of work to do. But up until then, gonna try and skirt that as long as possible. So my problem is that to feed the profit project, I need 2 years of data, but you only get 400 days off of the Crest endpoint, which is fine. It's fine. I mean, I have the data and I have it in the database, and actually it was performant enough given the circumstances, so I wasn't that unhappy with it. But like getting the MySQL integration into Flask was just more brain than I really had budget for, given all the other shit I need to get fixed. So I ended up relying on Eve Market Data, which does an endpoint for it. And so at lunch, I went and I got that whipped out just to like pull a request, grab the data, just make sure we grab it. And then I go start writing the test for it. And like I'm 5 days short of data, and I'm missing the last 2 days. Like the what I'm missing was really starting to mess with my head. And so then I wrote a much more extensive test that goes and validates against our database. And it turns out the missing days is a feature. They were like blackout days where the server was inaccessible. But it means that when you're validating, I can't just do the easy assert that length of data equals requested days was the way I wanted to write the test originally. So that's fine. I got that like done right before I got to I got that so that it'll run. And so I'm hoping, well, we'll see how the press circuit goes this weekend. I have a full docket, thanks to the Plex data, the Plex news. I'm hoping that I can at least get the profit endpoint. Well, we'll see about what we actually get done. See about getting the profit endpoint standing. I can't deploy it until I rewrite the OHLC endpoint, but I already have code for the OHLC endpoint, so I should just have to basically clean it up and write tests for it. And I'm thinking of putting API keys on the prediction one, just because it's going to incur a decent amount of CPU overhead, and Flask and high CPU usage don't play nice. So I may have to limit access just to start. But it should, if I can get it standing for Eve Mogul, I want to get it out to Eve Mogul. I want to get at least data tested on Eve Mogul. If that doesn't completely suck, I might open the endpoint to the general public. I don't want to write rate limiters. That's my pain here. Is that if I open up to the general public, I got to put a layer on there that does rate limiting, because you shouldn't need to hit the endpoint more than once a day for a given type ID and region ID, and you shouldn't need more than 1,000 type IDs for any customer. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure everyone's just going to ask for Plex, and then half of that is going to be minerals, and half of that again is going to be popular ships. And I'm thinking of writing a cache layer that should help make a lot of that easier. But I want to get it standing first before I start adding more shit to it. Because I'm pretty sure I can just put a TinyDB cache on there with the predictions. And as long as I check the cache, my cache, that we haven't ticked over to a new UTC midnight, there should be no problem to cache that data and keep serving the same thing over and over again. So if people ask for Plex, I can be like, oh, well, I already calculated Plex. Here you go. But one of the arts of homebrew dev is watch out for feature creep. Like, you only have so many give a shits to expend on this stuff, and if you spend it all in feature creep, you never actually release anything. You just have a big pile of shitty code that's all half finished. How does Eve News 24 not know what I do? Anyway, so we're getting to 5 past, so if you give me just a moment, I'm going to get another quick drink, get this show started, and we can talk about Eve Market stuff. First, a quick crash course for anybody who is new here. I'm Lockefox. This is the Eve Prosper Show. We are here weekly. We're here weekly for Eve market news, in-depth reviews of the Eve economy. I roll all of the charts myself. We have a whole code dev fleet backend thing going on, and we make all the charts for you guys. And yeah, so the charts are made in R. It's the same tools that CCP Quant uses to make his sexy charts. We have a whole bunch of data that we're collecting from public API endpoints. So none of the data we collect is special or unique. It's just that we have snapshots on things and history. If you want access to the data, do direct message me and we can talk about it. I'm happy to give some of the bulk download stuff to you guys, but it is not easily digestible to say that much. There's like over 200 gigabytes worth of data in there, so it's not. I had a friend PM me and we were talking and he's like, man, I'd love to look through that data. Like, it'd be great. I'm like, dude, you have no idea how big that fire hose is. And you need to go like learn a market or two and like find something that has enough margin to not give a fuck before you start digging into 100 gigabytes worth of intraday data, because I'll drown you, man. I don't tend to answer questions during the show. I will be reading chat both on Twitch and YouTube for questions, and we will do a 30-minute Q&A at the end. I had one more thing. Oh, right. And if you're watching either on Twitch or on YouTube, we are broadcasting at full 1080p on YouTube, and we do simulcasting for both. If you miss anything, as soon as the show ends, you can go watch the live stream up on YouTube. And if you don't like this meandery pre-show, post-show, we have Christopher Mellon, who gives us an edit within about 18 hours, depending on when I press the go button. Oh, excuse me. So, with that, clicking the button. Oh, and thank you, EveNews24, for hosting us. It's not coming up on my machine, but that's fine. I will trust that it's there. That is cool. Let's go ahead and get this show rolling. We are going to talk about the Plex split for sure. So do keep handy. We will be spending like too much time on it. It'll be great. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I should have muted. That was gross. My bad. All right. Press that button. Good evening and welcome to the latest episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host Lockefox, and I'm here with all of the market news you need to know going into the weekend here for episode 89. So let's start where we always do. Talk some quick show news. I want to thank everybody who is tuned in live right now. We are broadcasting on both Twitch and YouTube. You can catch us at our new in-game time, same U.S. time at 0300 Eve time, Friday nights. That's Thursday night, 8 o'clock Pacific. We're here every week with all of the best market news that Eve has to offer. Second, if you want to follow the show, go ahead and... Sorry, let me try that again. If you want to follow the show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. We should have some more content coming out, and if you are interested in some of our dev fleet topics, I do encourage you to check that out. I do have a blog up there that's a couple weeks old where we talked about the forecasting we're trying to build into one of our tools. So if any of that dev fleet stuff tickles you, you should go check that out. If you want to get engaged with our community, we do have a Discord. The very best way to get in touch with me is there on Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo below. And last, I want to thank our patrons who keep us on the air week over week. This show is provided ad-free. It does take a considerable amount of work to produce. We do spend a lot of off-air time developing custom code. We're running on custom server hardware that we've built up in one of our guys' basements, and it does cost money to keep us in licenses and everything, and I've got to thank our patrons. Even $1 goes an extremely long way, and I got to thank you guys so much for that. If you can't support us directly, that is perfectly fine. Completely understand. Do be sure to get subscribed, though, because like every good market person, I like seeing numbers going up and to the right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the meat of it. I know we usually transition out of here, but people on YouTube have been shitty about when the show actually starts. And so all of those people who scrub past the show news to get straight to Plex are going to miss all of the news about the Plex split, because I'm just that pithy about it. So if you guys saw on Twitter and the dev blog, it's been announced that CCP will be splitting Plex by a factor of 500, and they haven't announced an exact time scale for that, but expect it soon. Given the language going around, I would expect May, or with whatever the major release is in the late May, mid-June kind of area. So let's start with the mechanics of it. So what's going to happen is that every Plex that you have going into the night of the change is going to be multiplied by 500, and it's now going to cost 500 Plex to keep your Omega status. So this is just like a stock split IRL. So there's no value lost per se, just the token becomes more granular. Next, if you have ARM in your account, all the ARM in 100 ARM blocks, I believe north of 1,000 ARM, will be converted into the new Plex at the regular conversion factor, seeing as it's 1 Plex makes 3,500 ARM. You do the math. So this should make things that this is going to put a lot more mini Plex back into the system. It's going to liquidate out ARM, and we're finally going to be rid of ARM, which I have been waiting for a very long time. So last, if you have Plex on market on the night of the change, what's going to happen is that your orders will all be canceled and the items will be split, and then you'll have to relist all of your stuff, but all of your fees will be refunded, so you won't lose any money. So I'm actually pretty excited for this change. I've made it known that I particularly like a more granular token system. This gives people the ability to trade in the Plex market at much smaller increments, so that you can, for instance, just put 500 million into the market and be trading in, blocks of 100 Plex instead of 1 Plex at a time. This gives a lot more flexibility for volatility, because with the lowered price at about 2 million ISK per mini Plex, this means that the swings are going to be less. They're going to hurt less as Plex swings. It's going to make it so that you'll look at the market and you'd say, well, Plex is 3 million. I mean, whatever. Like, it was 2 million a month ago. It's 3 million this month. Why should I care? But that does mean that going from 2 to 3 million is going from 1 billion to 1.5 billion in Omega costs. So I think that's going to leave more room for more volatility, because it's going to take an extra tenth of a second for people to do the calculations in their heads. Also, this gives CCP a little better framework to give bonuses and extra services and such at much smaller steps. And if you wanted to be a enterprising person for your corporate alliance, handing out much smaller pieces of Plex as rewards, as pieces of your as your SRP, makes a lot more sense. You could be using these tokens more directly because they're in units of 2 million or 3 million or 1.5 million, and that gives you a little easier flexibility for getting cash out if you wanted to go do that. So I'm a big fan of the things. The one piece that makes me upset is that they have stated that they're not going to backfill the data in the market window onto the new items. So if you're not an Eve developer, you may not know that every item has a unique integer ID. And so what will happen in the back end is that Plex will go from one number and then it will get a new number, and that new number will now take over. So they'll discontinue one item, they'll add a new item, even if the names stay the same. That's kind of what ends up happening. But that means when the market window opens on day 1 or day 10 or any time after that, is that there's no history into the back of what the history of Plex has been in game. And seeing as this is just a stock split, seeing as this is a pretty benign mechanical change, I don't see why they couldn't, in this one case, inject the history back into the database, so that you'll divide the price by 500 and you'll multiply the volume by 500, and then you'll still have a continuous graph looking back. It'll just be semi-artificial. I've gone ahead and made my desire for that known. We are going to treat it on this show. We're gonna look at it two different ways. We're gonna look at what the cost to be omega is as a primary thing, because I think it's important to keep that in mind, to keep that scale in mind before you get boiled like a frog. And number 2, we will still look at the new Plex item, but we will backfill it in our databases as if it weren't. And that's so we'll be tracking both going forward, and we will do all of the work in the back end to just make it transparent. I'm going to go ahead and talk to Eve Mogul to make sure that any of the services we provide through them also continue to see that sort of behavior. Now, the real thing you guys want to know about is what's going to happen to the price of Plex. Holy crap. So, if you really, really want to know, and you want to dig into it and get really down in the dirt for your tinfoil hat wearing, you do want to go look up stock splits. What I expect to see is hype as we go into this weekend, over the next week or so, probably into FanFest, where people are looking to stockpile Plex in the hopes that they will get to do something on split day. This is sort of the hope on this, is that sorry, I shouldn't be reading chat. So what we end up seeing is that there's hype going into the split. The split happens, but no value is created or destroyed by the split. But what we do see on split day is new ARM coming into the market, which should amp supplies. And I still think that, given the monthly economic numbers we've seen, that Plex is on a downward trend into May. Unfortunately, without the news from FanFest, it's really, really hard to make predictions past the end of May in my books. So I'm kind of hoping that we see the ramp up to 1.1, 1.2 maybe. I have a hard time saying 1.2. And we see that exuberance start to evaporate as people get impatient waiting for the release. And then release happens. There's another bit of a surge, but what I think is going to happen is the price is going to dip down towards a 950 parity level. And then wherever we land should stay relatively steady over the summer, without knowing what the event schedule looks like. Again, that's about the best I can do. So, if you're looking to speculate in Plex, I mean, if you can get the cheap ones, do it. But I'm worried about jumping in at 1.1 because I don't think you're going to get a lot of action to play with. Instead, I'm going to be looking at markets like skill trading, like the other RM tokens, and skins, which we don't cover on the show. I think are all going to be much better places to sort of play the secondary metagame instead, because people all the looking is on Plex, and it's going to get really bumpy in my opinion, and that's just the way I sort of expect it to be. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the real meat of the show. I know all the YouTube people have been so patient, seeing as I just spent 10 minutes not talking about Plex. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more, say no more. Let's go ahead and do one more quick round on the CSM voting. Actually, I hope voting is still open, or I'm going to feel really stupid. That these are still our candidates. Really should figure out if voting is still open. Anyway, again, just real quick rundown. Rodin is our pick. If you would vote for me, you should vote for Rodin. He is our economic trade sort of candidate. He is excellent at what he does, and we support him. Commander A's is my pick for you generalists, for your jack of all trades kind of guys. He is our pick in that slot. And last is Arika Mizune in an industrialist slot and an accessibility slot. Last, I do want to take back the mean things I said about Fuzzy Steve. He's back on my good side after we talked about some of the ESI stuff. Holy crap, that's the last piece of news I forgot to share. If you are a spreadsheet warrior, go check out Fuzzworks' blog. Steve Veronican, who's running for CSM re-election, is the API candidate. You should check out his blog because he just released a tool set for ESI on GDocs. So if you are a spreadsheet warrior, he has the tools to get you in the latest with the latest and greatest APIs. I'm really glad he did it because there was no way I was going to get to it, and he and I have traded GDoc stuff for ages, and I'm really glad that he brought that to the thing. So go check out. I should have links in the description below to get to it, but just go to fuzzwork.co.uk, and he has a blog up about it. It's great, excellent. Go do it. All right, into the meat of the show. Let's talk about Plex. Plex is going completely nuts. So we see it at 1.15 billion-isk as of this broadcast, which means I have to eat my words about 1.2 earlier. We are on track. So right now we are in a regiment of much stronger moves than you'd expect. And volumes are not that high given how high the price is driving. And again, if we look at the 1 year, so the thing that makes me queasy here is that Plex can spend time up in this very strong space above the RSI line here. That's totally normal. But we are much higher than we've been over the last year, and we show no signs of stopping given the way things are going. Also, if you are a tinfoil chewer, the Plex split announcement came out, and the action was already over before it showed up, which is suspicious, if I may be so bold. I don't know. I can't nail down the specifics of any leak. I did ask Fuzzy Steve about it, and basically he said what I expected to hear was that CSM has been talking about this forever and ever, and I was under the impression that they weren't going to get a date on it. So, and that's kind of that's sort of the behavior I would expect. And somebody spilled the beans a few days early. Now, do note that, so I wouldn't count this block from last week to be suspicious. We've been in a bit of a shortage lately, and that's sort of this sort of behavior right here is expected. But basically, somebody had 36 hours. The party started 36 hours earlier than I would have expected. And especially this buyout. Actually, my alignment might be bad here. No, my alignment is bad because the database is in Eastern time, not UTC time. So I got to move this back. So this buyout should be aligned with this line. That's my bad. It's a bug. Welcome to home dev. But we just crested the 1.2 billion. So you might be able to get lucky with a 1.1, 1.12 buy order into the weekend. Like if you're watching this from when we air to, let's say, 1800 on Friday, then there might be a chance to get a sub 1.15 buy order if you wanted to play the weekend, because what ends up happening a lot of these times is that we see a double dip where news comes out and people who have jobs can't do anything about it, and then we see the weekend warriors come in and spike it again. With how thin the supplies are on the ground, we could actually see a pop up to 1.3 if things got particularly hairy. But if you're going to jump on this train, you got to be active. Like you cannot be jumping in on this and just expect to show up after golf or whatever. You really need to take your active play time and be watching this market for your out, because the space above 1.2 I think is going to be really rare, and it's going to take some lightning reflexes and some opportunistic sell orders to really cash out north of 1.2 in my opinion. I'm probably going to eat those words. It's a really weird spot to be predicting in, unfortunately. So I don't know how better to put this where we are right now. And then zooming in on the RMT markets, somebody bought out the pilot resculpt certificates and blew out my graph. So thank you, whoever that was. So now this graph is useless, and I have to do some trimming to call that number right there, because that's fucking ridiculous. Next, looking at skill trading, we see the behavior we expect to see as Plex rises. Margins fall. We're still at pretty decent ISK per skill point, but we've lowered to about 150 ISK per skill point bonus. So this is why particularly I'm interested in watching the skill injector market, because I think you'll get a chance to play some of the leading and lagging in that market. I think it's going to have a little more volatility to play with. And I think it's a little less risky given where Plex is going to be in a very volatile spot. I think skill trading is going to be a more casual, less painful place to be investing. Zooming in, we can see that the supplies have surged and the prices are starting to show some weakness, trending south of 650. This will be a great chance to get a 640 buy order in. Grab a few extra of these things and watch, because what I expect to happen is that once the farmers sort of realize what's going on, like I expect the prices to do a more a better wave, in my opinion. So I don't know if we'll get all the way to 700. 700 probably we can hit. But I think this is a much better place to be speculating in than Plex, because as you can see, the waves are much less pronounced. They're going to be more regular as opposed to spiky in this case. Looking at the big picture, let's take a look at some market indexes. Looking at the net trade statistics, we don't have today's action in the report, just a function of time zones not really matching up. So sorry about that. So I wish I could come in and say, oh, well, look, there's all this action on the RMT market. But what I can tell you is that this green line up here is going to surge, and so is the top purple line. But I don't expect much action here on the mineral and ship market. Actually, I'm a little sad I don't have the data on the sheet right now, because there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the mineral markets now that the Rorqual nerf hit. So we're going to talk about that in a little more depth coming up here when we get into minerals. But we're seeing some recovery in those markets, and as the minerals rise, I expect the value of ships to rise, which should bring up that ship market number a few points as the market starts to recover. So looking at the total destruction numbers, again, not a lot to say here. What we can see is the Burn Jita stats here a couple weeks back, and we're settling back into a bit of a lull. The kill stats are a bit lower than I'd like to see them. We were at 15,000 kills per day on average, and we're now more in a 12,000 kills per day. This is sort of the thing that's got me upset at the numbers, is that we're seeing a lot of productivity, we're seeing a lot of mining and industry, but we're not seeing a proper amount of destruction to go with that. And as those stocks stack higher and higher, you're going to have people like alphas are going to have a really hard time keeping the bills paid with low tier industry. And I mean, nobody's really entitled to a particular, ISK per hour. But if, we all know what's the first thing you do when you come into Eve? You get in a mining frigate and you crunch rocks, because that's what people do. And if your first encounter into Eve is, man, mining rocks, let's see, I'd have to mine 24/7 for the whole month to get anywhere near Omega status. This game sucks. So, I don't, I mean, I just want to see, industry for alphas be at least interesting enough to keep them engaged, because Eve is the worst single player game, and the stuff that people land on in their first careers is going to be the thing that gets hurt the most by this excess productivity. So, speaking of mining, let's go into minerals. And Tritanium saw a decent bump just in the last 24 hours, coming off the 4.0 line and hitting 4.5 right before broadcast. We're seeing a surge in strength, which means that I wouldn't expect to get above 465 if we're just following the indicators. Again, this is after a reset. So with a discontinuity, I'm okay with crossing these boundaries. Like, patch comes out, things change, prices have to reset, and they reset pretty quickly in Eve. So we could get up to 465, 47, but that's a really hard spot to see, and especially from where we're sitting today, it's a really risky position. And if we look at the zoom in, we can see that we're sort of coalescing to 4.5, and supplies haven't really changed. So again, like a 4.55, a 4.60 is kind of where I expect this to land, given the pressure that we're seeing right now. Pyrite is staying steady despite the spikes we're seeing elsewhere in the mineral market, which is a little bit weird at 6.0. Just before the show, we popped up to 625, which is great, and we're seeing volumes decline. So if you're watching live now, if you can get onto the market before 1800, 2000 hours in Eve tomorrow, this might not be a bad place to get a like a sub 6.0 buy order in and aim for 6.5. It's not quite 10%, so you're not going to make a huge amount, but we could hit 6.5 to 6.75 over the next week, given what we're seeing in the mineral reset here. I have a hard time saying 7.0, but it's possible. It's just unlikely. Next, one of our favorites, Mexilon, saw a spike last week, despite the sort of expectation that the supply chain should be a little bit saturated post-Bernjita. But we're back down under the 75 mark. If we zoom in, we can see a big buyout that was not caught on the gross stats, and a bit of a shortage going on. So if you were holding on to Mexilon, if you bought your Mexilon last week at sub 75, like I really hope I said that, selling at over 80 is a nice price. I'd be shooting for an 80-85 if I were getting out of this market. Particularly good returns. I didn't expect this to turn around as quickly as it did. It'd be easy to hip shot and say that this is because of the Rorqual change, but remember that most of Mexilon comes from HiSec, and there are no Rorquals in HiSec. So it's interesting to see this spiking despite everything. It might just be a bit of a supply chain shock for super producers, but like we're not overly short at the moment. I mean, we got pretty short a couple weeks ago during Bernjita, and we're still like at half a billion units on market, so it's not completely bought out, but it's in an unstable spot, and we might see a little bit more action going into the weekend. Next, Isogen, the mineral I shit on every week, was down at 50 and is heading to 55. Again, I think this is part of the Rorqual shift, but the action seems to be over. We saw a dip during the release, and volumes are climbing. So if you were holding on to this, if you bought in at 45, 47, even though I tell you not to trade in Isogen, get out now. I would jump off of this train as fast as possible, because I think we're going to be back at sub 50 come Monday. Next, Noxium, which has been a little bit of a mixed bag. I keep wanting to tell people to buy into it. I keep, like, my gut says to buy it, but I just can't justify it. Did a big pop moving from 320 to 360 this week. And we can see it's basically on the back of a supply shortage. It looks like we'll stay steady at 360 over the weekend. But any more growth would require more material to be lost out of the market. I have a hard time believing we're going to get much below the 100 million units mark, but like, I mean, if you did buy some Noxium at some of this 320 buy order or the sub 300, I think I asked to buy it earlier in the last 2 weeks. I would be watching the order count on Eve Central for us to go under the 100 million mark into like the 95 million. I think means that we get to 380, and that's when I'd be selling. You could sell now, you could make your money. Nobody's going to. It's not wrong to take profits if you're making over your fees, but I think that there's a better than 50-50 chance that we could hit 380 if the supply chain gets a little bit tighter over the next 10 days. Next, my other favorite mineral to shit on is Zydrine, and we're back at 1,000. We're holding pretty steady. Actually, we should expect the prices to come up slightly thanks to the Rorqual nerf. We should see less of this stuff coming out of nullsec. I still think it's going to be in an oversupplied paradigm, given that I expect wormholers to just mine the best ISK per hour regardless of what it goes into. So what I kind of expect is over this weekend, we'll get to maybe 1.015, maybe 1.1 over the next 2 weeks. But I think by May, we're back under 1K. I don't think this is a really good one to be investing in, and I don't think it's a good time to be stockpiling either. So I'd steer clear of Zydrine. Just treat it like you normally would. And Megasite took a dive down under 1350 this last week. And if we zoom in, we can kind of see why supplies were tracking way up and they're starting to back off. This one's a little bit better to be buying into. The opportunity to get some cheap buy orders, I think, is closed, but we should be over 1400 over the weekend. And we could be on a regiment up to 1,500 over the next 2 to 3 weeks if this trend continues. I kind of expect to sit at the 75 million units mark, which puts us at like 1450 in my book. So that's not terrible if you got some of these opportunistic buy orders when things looked like they were going down and I told you not to buy. But I don't think we're going to get much above the 1450 mark. And then last, Morphite is taking a little bit of a dive under the 9,500 mark. And we can see that we're just basically oversupplied. I don't think the Rorqual changes anything about Morphite, in my opinion. What we really need to see is a return to Tech 2. And I might actually have some good news on that this week. So sub 9K buy orders is definitely a buy in my book, but getting to that 10K that we expect to see, I think is going to be a bit of a reach, and you're going to be holding on to it past May, unfortunately. Moving on to fuel. We start where we usually do, looking at the isotopes and ignoring the fact that I have a big fat fucking bug in my tool. And we saw nitrogen isotopes spiking over the last week. And I want to say they're still at almost 900. Again, ignore this last part. I have like a sort issue or something. I've tried to fix it twice and it just doesn't stick. Fuel blocks, we saw a lot of action during Burn Jita. That's where we had the fuel blocks get bought out. But prices are coming back down. We're seeing the margin again shrink into shitty territory for all of the blocks, especially Caldari has been crossing over where it's negative margin. Again, so I bring this up and then we end up talking about it on Discord. So I don't know if you guys are getting this news. So if you're building fuel blocks and it's working out for you and you have like a supply chain figured out, or this saves you a jump freighter step, like keep doing what you're doing, shine on your crazy diamond. That's fine. If you've got a particularly sweet deal on a fee schedule, like go for it. But if you're a casual industrialist, I really have to tell you to get out of fuel blocks, because you're playing a losing battle against people who don't need the margin the way you do. And my advice to beginning industrialists is not to go after the biggest markets so that you can, just do some simple work and make a couple extra bucks and aren't I great? What works really best for beginning industrialists is you really want to maximize the margin you're working with, because as a starting industrialist, you don't have a lot of cash to be working with. And if you're coming into a market and you've got 200 million ISK, let's say, to get started, and you come into the fuel block market and you're making 8%, maybe let's say you're making 10, but then you're eating 3% in fees and another 2% in taxes. So you're making less than 5%. Like, it's going to take a lot of time to get your money, back, and you're gonna burn out doing that work, because you're like, well, I mean, I did all those clicks and I did all that mining, and like, I just made 10 million ISK. Who gives a shit? So instead, the places I like to point newbies is things like rigs are a pretty decent margin. There's some specialty Tech 1 that isn't terrible. If you're willing to do some freight, ammo isn't terrible. There's some easy Tech 2 that is some pretty low hanging fruit skill wise. And there's a lot of secondary market stuff that is not inherently obvious, but has a lot of margin. Things like the Tech 2 components, like electrolytic capacitors and fusion reactors and those kind of things. And like, as a starting industrialist, like, you should be aiming for 30%, because in that case, if you get 30%, if you're aiming there, that means that you have space to fuck up. So you have a lot of space that if the market turns sideways, you have a lot of runway out before you start losing money. That's number one. And number two, like, you don't need the best skills to make it up. Like, if you're paying an extra 2% in taxes, like, who cares? I have 30% margin to cut through. Like, go ahead, take it, and I'll have 20% returns instead of 5% returns, and really get that money back. Where the people who should be doing the low margin work are the people who are making that margin up in volume. And that's my advice there, is that you sort of transition from a high margin, low value up through high net returns, low absolute margin. And that's sort of the curve you want to transition through. If you don't know where to get started, the Eve tool ISK per hour is the industry standard, and you should go just check it out. Look for things that make a little bit more money for your time, because this market right here, where if you were building Caldari fuel blocks and it goes negative, like, you're fucked, you're boned. If you see like this big cost bump, and then if it resets back to 800, you're screwed. Like, this is not fun. So, like, get some margin that gives you some runway, so that if things fuck up, that you don't end up eating your lunch. This is my public service announcement for newbies to not build fuel blocks, because you could be doing so much better with your time. Anyway, zooming in on the rest of the market, looking at nitrogen isotopes, we see a big spike in prices. Looks like somebody is manipulating the price, to be completely honest, up to 900. We're seeing a little bit of shortage, which would tell me that the fair price is 850, but supplies are spiking up. I have complicated feelings about the moon market, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about this a little bit later. That the leaked information on moon mining on the new drilling platforms has me spooked, and has me thinking that anything that has to do with moon reactions is just going in the toilet. And it's so hard to pick, like, how bad it's really going to be. I just look at it, and I don't want to touch any of it. I just want to put my hands in the air and be like, that is not a market I'm playing with, because as soon as that news comes out, I think we're going to lose double percentage points off of the value of these things. So, seeing this nitrogen spike, like, you should expect some of that because of the Rourke nerf, but you're also seeing the volume spike because people should be getting out of their moon investments, which should be driving the price back down to 800. I'm not sure exactly what shenanigans are going on here to make things go weird, but, like, the whole moon picture has me spooked, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere near this in a long-term position. Looking at strontium, the interesting thing I see is that we're seeing supplies start to wane. It's a little hard to put this. It's probably the Rourke nerf, but if we get much below the 15 million mark, I might actually say that the war drums are getting beaten. Without the price moving, I have a hard time really saying that like this is a war signal. I know that I like saying that strontium is our canary for nullsec warfare. I mean, some of this looks like reasonably large buyouts, but I need one more week of data to really say anything. It's a 40% positive sort of outlook. Heavy water, we're seeing just stack up and up and up. Again, thanks to the Rourke nerf, it's been stacking since the announcement, and prices just keep falling. We're just not seeing as much of it consumed by miners anymore. So I don't know where the bottom of this is. I don't know where the top of the supply is. If it keeps going, I'm almost expecting a rebalance in the mix of what comes off of ice, given the way that it's going. But those sort of moves take forever, so we'll see what happens. Moving on to our outliers. So this is the part where I contradict myself and say I think that the moon markets are going to have a double percentage point drop in everything worth making. And then ferrogel spikes, and fermionic condensate spike, and dysprosium spikes, and signals are showing positive trends for hypersynaptic fibers and nanotransistors. So I don't know, maybe I'm the only person who believes this, or maybe somebody knows better than me that the removing of moon reaction farming into the traditional industry system is going to be low throughput, and it's going to do the capping that I keep saying needs to happen, where the total throughput is basically halved. But like moving into traditional industry from moon reacting means that you need to, like, you'd have to cap the actual yields on those blueprints so hard that that I just think that the throughput that traditional industry can do, cutting that down to a level where you actually get the output you want without completely screwing everything up, is going to be difficult. Now, I don't have any special CSM leaks, so I could just be completely fucking wrong. But like I'm spooked. I don't want to be in this market, but it's really hard to turn away when you see like that spike in ferrogel up here. And dysprosium, for instance, we saw a big drop off as what looks like a set of moons switching hands. But supplies have dipped. Prices have reset back to the 70K mark. I, again, don't want to jump in on this. I don't think we're going to go much above 75K because I think we're back at equilibrium. But like these markets spook the hell out of me. Going into PI4, again, if you wanted to take a position for the summer patch, PI4 would be a decent place to do it. Nano factories are down big time this week. It'd be a good time to stock up. We do expect them to be part of the mining platform, the drilling platform construction process. We're hoping that lots of drilling platforms explode, meaning that there's a lot more baseline demand in the PI4 market. But I think that this party is particularly played out, and though you can make, I think, a decent living off of it, I don't think you'll get super genius status of watching the big spikes as the market gets bought out. I think we'll just be high once the thing shows up, and I'd be looking to stockpile things like nanofactories, wetware mainframes, and maybe sterile conduits into FanFest in the hopes that the keynote spikes the market and you can jump out right after the keynote. That's sort of the play I expect at the moment. Next, by special request, melted nanoribbons are on this week's docket. As part of the leak about mining platforms, there's a rumored Tech 3 cruiser rebalance, and the markets went a little bit nuts buying out all the melted nanoribbons. But then the supply chain snapped back into place to backfill. Going into the weekend at a 1.5, 1.75 buy order, you might be able to make a decent amount of money looking for a cash out right before FanFest. But it's a risky spot, especially given just how much material is coming onto the market. I think the price is going to dip under the 1.5 mark, and I just don't know when it's going to rebound, because this is steep and fast and hot, and I just don't know. It's hard to tell when it's going to turn around and how it's going to turn around. It's a dangerous pattern, and it's really hard to predict when it's doing exactly this. Next, interesting this week is logistics cruisers. The Guardian took a big spike, and the Scimitar is down, which I think is just a matter of oversupply. The thing I'd be looking for as a producer is to not go rushing into Guardians because they're really hot this week. And as a trader, I'd be looking for the double dip that tends to happen when industrialists get too greedy. I'm not sure if that play is going to really be here. I just thought it was interesting to see the Guardian tracking so high given the rest of the way the logistics cruisers market is going, and how out of favor the Scimitar is. I also kind of expect that more capital logi is going to be like the next big war is going to be a super capital one. And I don't know where subcaps really go in that engagement chain. And this is a failure on my part to just not have the creativity to understand what the new fleet metas are going to be. But I long-term speculation on Logi cruisers seems like a losing game. Next interesting one that came up on our tools was the Viator. I believe that is the Cloaky Hauler Galente, if I'm remembering correctly. We saw... I swear you guys are doing this to me on purpose, where I say twos are common and threes are not. And we saw 2 here, and now we're seeing a third spike. I mean, if you bought in, this weekend's not a bad time to sell, but I don't know why the Viator is so popular going into this weekend. I mean, if you want to really chew the tinfoil, it might be that there's a second round of burn Jitas or some sort of interdiction going on, but like I've heard no murmurs to that actually being true. I don't know if this is like weekend warriors coming back. This is strange to see so much extra. Like, this is burn Jita, right? Like, this is a big buyout for burn Jita, and then oversupply from industrialists, and then people giving up. Prices, this is weird. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Next on our items is the rocket launcher 2s are hot. Not sure what they're being attached to. Didn't see anything shiny and new in our Killboard report. But they seem to be much more popular and breaking out of a traditional mold here. Next, medium nanobot accelerators, which I want to say are the armor repair cycle rate ones, are taking a big nosedive. Again, not sure if this is supply driven or what. Not a bad chance to be buying in if you were looking to speculate at sub 3 million. I would be tempted to buy in. Signals look good for at least making your money back, plus a little bit of margin. I just don't know if we swing way up or if we just flatten out here. 325 is kind of my target given the way things are going. And we'll see what happens next week. I'll try to remember to pull this again to see if I am smart, if I'm a genius or an idiot. Moving on to our prediction review, where we find out if I know what the hell I'm talking about. The Lachesis, I brought this up last week, that it spiked hard and to be wary if you were a producer. And then it didn't crash the way I expected. Usually what happens is that there's a big buyout, prices spike, and then by Tuesday the following week, the price starts to reset. And this is taking 2 or 3 times longer than I really expected. I still would steer clear as an industrialist, but I would be watching as a trader to buy something in maybe a sub 175 million-ish range. Again, the volume on this is so low, it's really hard to give good advice here, but that's what I have at the moment. Ishtar was another interesting one we brought up last week, that supplies had surged, prices had dived, and I thought it was a halfway decent buy-in at sub 180. Looks like prices have recovered to 200. I don't think they're going to go much higher than 200, but given that supplies might be a little bit thin, we could see a 205 sort of action over the weekend. But just as likely, Weekend Warriors could dump this back down to 195. So anywhere in that bound, I think, is where we're going to end up. And Jump Freighters, we've been watching these since Burn Jita. Again, interesting that Anshars took a big spike, but Reyes did not. I guess people just don't use Reyes like I like to use Reyes. So what's interesting on this graph, though, is the dip in ARCs. So if you're watching the market right now and you have an extra 7.25 billion to spend, ARCs are looking a little on the cheap side. But God, making back those fees, man, speculating on Jump Freighters would be quite a market to be playing. And last, but certainly not least, let's cover our violence report. Things are looking normal for the week. We still see Rorquals bringing up a big chunk of the destroyed list. I do need to fix one of our data streams so we can actually track the new kills on the excavator drones, which is fine. That's great. Vexor Navy issue continues to be a strong contender in the meta, and rattlesnakes were really popular this week, so that's at least somewhat interesting. There's also Proteus and Tengu are making a bit of a comeback, so if you wanted to speculate on ships, those might not be bad hulls to take a little bit more investigation in. When I did my quick pass over them, I didn't see anything worth saying on the show to 100 people or 1,000 viewers, but it's not a bad piece if you wanted to do the investigation yourself. There might actually be, I might have just missed something and you can look like a super genius. Hot systems, we see Jita is hotter than usual. Amamake is back on the list. It hasn't been on the list for a very long time, but Burn Jita washed out our scales. And Black Rise, Catch, Placid, Citadel, and Forge bringing up our list. That we're not seeing more nullsec on that list, more low-sec nullsec on that list is a little bit weird. To get both Citadel and Forge on the top 5 list is a little bit weird. But again, we're just not seeing the amount of PvP I'd really expect to see. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this show to a close. I want to thank everybody who tuned in live, and I want to thank our editor, Christopher Mellon, for editing this show up for all of the guys who can't tune in live. If you do want to tune in live, you can catch us every week on Friday at 0300 game time. That's Thursday night, 8 o'clock Pacific, on Twitch and YouTube at Eve Prosper. If you want to follow this If you want to follow this show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. And if you want to talk to me, if you want to talk to our community of trade people, do join our Discord. Links should be down in the doobly-doo below. Thank you, everybody who tuned in live. If you do enjoy the show, if you enjoy what we do and the kind of attention to detail we give in this show, do consider supporting us on Patreon. We provide this show free of charge, no ads, week over week. We provide custom dev fleet work, a lot of back-end code to make this thing happen, and it is not a solo effort. So if you can support us, if you enjoy what we do consider throwing a buck in the tip jar. It'd be basically like buying me a beer. If you can't support us, that's perfectly fine. Do get subscribed. Like every good industrialist and economic guy, I like seeing numbers going up and to the right. So get subscribed, get notified, watch us live, watch us on YouTube. We will be back next week with more market news. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show. Fly safe and make a bunch of money. All right, that's a show. Holy crap, CCP Rise is here. Dude, go to bed. It's like 4 in the morning. And good job on the Plex split. I like it. But backfill the history, please. Do. Well, I mean, I'm going to backfill the history, but it would be nice to have it in game. I agree with Dirk McGurk. It's just like in real life, it's a stock split, and that doesn't stop us from doing the thing. So I know the history will be there, and you can still query it. It's just that in game, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So I understand if you can't, but like it's a strong request from an industrial speculator that to lose the history would be. We can make it work. I already have to do it for my databases, and I intend to do it. So I'm not worried personally. You don't need that one. That one's huge. There we go. The only thing I'm annoyed about is that top thing on my project list right now is adding a forecasting endpoint so that you guys can look into the future with the tools, with at least a tool that's better than linear regression. And the only thing is that type ID split is going to fuck up my shit a little bit. So I'm going to do exceptions for it, but a one type ID exception list is not that big a deal. So I was just like, I was seeing that and I'm like, oh man, I'm already ankles deep. I'm already elbow deep in a frickin' rewrite of my REST endpoints. Fine. You know, what's one more thing? I guess I'll do that instead of caching. But let's see. Am I missing anything else? So yeah, questions, right? There are a whole bunch of people talking, and I completely ignored it in the thing. Let's see. So just so that people in Twitch don't miss this, Brandon Ray asked, was confused during the fuel report if you could still drop traditional POS towers. Yes, you still can. They have not been phased out. The only thing that has changed was engineering complexes were released, and that meant that industry is better off inside the new Citadel structure as opposed to a traditional POS. So just so the guys on Twitch don't miss that. T2 precision heavy missiles are selling half the cost forever. Not sure what to tell you on that one. Let's go way back in the Twitch chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. Be sure to get your tinfoil hats on about people buying into the Plex split. So there's a whole bunch of hype on this, and everybody's excited, but you got to remember that the value isn't changing, and a decent load of new Plex is coming out into the market thanks to the ARM conversion. I'm not enough of a real life market speculator chartist to really know what to do with a stock split. Like, it's usually, like, the way I always read it is that it ends up being this giant fucking hype train, and like that they're splitting is the big news, and oh, aren't we so happy about that, rather than nothing actually changing in the root of the thing. So I don't know enough about real life stuff to know why a stock split is exciting. But personally, sitting here, I still think the MER numbers are pointing towards a downplex market. I mean, the low kill activity kind of turns that around, but I still see everything like pointing downwards, and being at over 1.1 is just a factor of how few Plex are available at the moment, more than actual real hype about Plex being valuable. Like, I just, it bothers me. I wish I knew better. I don't know what to tell you. Icon is asking if it's too late to get into Moon Reaction setting up chains. Better to wait, or is there still time to make ISK? So if you're fast, and if you're running lean, I think you can make money. I think you might as well make money as long as make hay while the sun shines. Just know that, like, I would be really hesitant to buy a bunch of new sticks, a bunch of new POSes. Because as soon as drilling platforms come out, that's really like the only thing left for POSes is easy deployable bases for like soft warfare. And even that is not really the best. Or some of the more mobile wormhole stuff. Like, the demand for towers disintegrates overnight once that's the last leg on the table is the drilling platforms. And that's my real worry here, is that if you buy in and you spend, $2 billion or $3 billion getting some reactions set up, that you'll be able to make your money back and make plenty of margin on the reaction itself. But I don't know if you'll get paid back that investment cost. If you can get the towers for cheap, like, go ahead and do it. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd actually aim for Galente rather than Caldari. I know you can get more things done, but given the cost of fuel, like, I'd want to see the nitrogen isotopes come back down to 800 before I jumped in on Caldari sticks. But yeah, the otherwise, it makes me worried. It could go both ways. Like, it always could go both ways. It's just that, and I mean, yeah, they're going to have a buyback program or something like that. But I don't think the rate you're going to get from that, like, You might as well be doing eminent domain and expecting the government to pay top dollar for your land. Like it's the same similar thing. Like, oh well, yeah, I put all this money in and I'm going to get a quarter back what I paid in for the hardware, is sort of what I expect. And like, it's possible, right? It's totally possible that I could be wrong and we could see moons go the way I want them to go, where actual supply of the goo and components is cut by a considerable margin. So we see about 20% less actual moon goo being generated. I just, like, the fact that it sounds like the reactors are moving to traditional industry means that that entire reaction chain is just going to go kaput overnight. And and no, buybacks don't cover BPCs. BPCs have no value. I know you paid money for them. I don't mean to say they're not valuable, but they have no in-game value. So yeah, it's you might still be able to be fine as a miner. Like that could probably be interesting and be done well. It sounds like, I'm worried that it sounds like they're going to kill all of the intermediate work. And it's just so hard to get. I'm the only one who believes in low industrial throughput. So this is my hill to die on. More questions. I'm here to answer your questions. There you go. Grash is asking about the parity line on the skill trading graph. So let's bring it back up. Doop. So this parity line is the cost of extractors and the game time. Basically saying that if you make 2,700 skill points per hour and you get 30 days of game time with a Plex, that's part of the cost. And then plus the extractors to extract that. That's what this bottom line is for. And then the top line is the actual margin, just thinking about the costs, how much money you're making. And once these actually, so skill points parity is just generating the skill points. Doesn't count the extractors, I don't think. I set it up like an industry calculation where this was the bill of materials and this was the profit margin, essentially. So that's what the graph is for. Hopefully that makes sense. Holy crap. So many new Twitch subscribers. So Dr. Crusham is asking, when you talk about investing in a market that is currently down, are you talking about setting up a buy order to capture one of the dips, or just purchasing from sells to guarantee you actually acquire the items? So I don't love speculating on sell orders. You can make a perfectly good living doing that if you are willing to move them out of JITA. Where you can, it's a popular thing to buy in JITA and move to either Dodixie or Amar, or go even further out to spoke markets like in low sec or null sec. And that sort of sell order arbitrage, I think, is totally worth doing. Perfectly good margins. It's a great way to make a living. Personally, if you're looking at speculating and station trading, I think that you really have to play the buy orders. And I don't think enough people play opportunistically in the buy orders, where you could be putting you could just not just be competing on the best buy order, hoping to get the item. Again, I think that's a great opportunity if you're doing arbitrage, where you move it to another system. But also looking for, oh, this is a downward trend. Let's grab a few extra. Like, I don't know if this is a good. Where's a good one that's showing the behavior? So that one's kind of suck. So like here on nitrogen isotopes. No, I don't expect this one to go up. This one sucks. Where's the one that's actually going to go up? This one's not a terrible one, but the counts are so high. But yeah, I would rather play opportunistic buy orders, and spread the net wider than focus on specific items and really looking to hit quantities. Like, the way I would try to think of it instead is using volumes to set your maximum buy quantity, rather than trying to hit that as a target. Especially since I am looking for opportunities, especially for this show, where you can hold for 2 to 10 days. And I don't know. And especially if you're going to do that, like, why would you buy the best buy order if you're going to hold it for 2 to 10 days if you think that the price could move opportunistically? Like, play some of that spread and try to catch cheaper orders to improve your margin. So that's my advice there. I'm not great at it, unfortunately, personally, but that's the mentality I have, especially for telling up to 1,000 space nerds what to buy, because I can't come in here and make easier calls because those markets are so thin. Like, I could use the tools I have today and own the implant markets and just play the regular buy and sell orders, not get super fancy with strategy, just use the tools to get in there. But the problem is that, like, those markets sell 20 units a day or something. And if I say, oh, this is interesting, and 10 billion ISK shows up on that market, like, there aren't many markets that can absorb that kind of activity. So I've had to pull away from those markets. And my advice to amateur traders is to really specialize in a market and really understand what's going on, because if you specialize, you'll be able to play it way better than I'm ever going to be able to predict here. Like, if you really understand high meta items that are pirate and higher, like, that's a meta market. Or faction warfare payouts is a great place to speculate in. Or in the moon markets is a personal favorite, or in Tech 2 production, or in dog tags, or in ammo going between mission systems, or loyalty point store arbitrage, where you buy orders at mission hubs and move them to JITA for margin. Like, there's a whole bunch of places to make money. There are 100 different markets to dig into, and your specialty will beat my generic every day of the week. And it's just that when it comes to my reporting, I can't point at a market that can't take 10 billion ISK. They can't at least absorb a billion ISK, because I have to assume that 100 people are going to hear it, or 1,000 people are going to hear it, and more than 20 of them are going to do something about it. So I got to be really careful about that. The moon mining leaks, that was from Reddit. There was somebody accidentally published on the RSS feed for the updates page, and that got scraped and posted to Reddit. So that was that leak. I don't love the Eve Reddit lately. It's been more shit posting than value lately. But also I have been super busy IRL. I haven't had a lot of time for Reddit. I have my own list of shit to get done. So Jamitin on the leak, the big meat of the leak was that reaction farming is going away, is that they're moving for, they're going to move the reactors into traditional industry. So that's the only real detail that seems to have come out of this whole mess. The specifics beyond that was a picture of a of a model with bad shaders, and like that it's coming is about the only other thing. So it's not a really substantive leak, and it's why I have to speculate so hard and why I have to be so skittish about it, is that I don't have enough information to really do anything with it. It's a bad... Yeah, there we go. The link was posted in Twitch. Let me go copy it over to YouTube so nobody misses anything. It should be in the FanFest keynote for the summer release. Like, if it's not there, I'll be flabbergasted. I mean, I'm hoping that it's more active and less passive and more dynamic. Like, I have faith in the mechanics changing positively as far as actual supply chains go. I'm upset about reaction farming, and I would not want to be anywhere near the reactors. Less so the moon materials. Like, I think the moon material stuff can be interesting enough. There's not enough details to know, and especially for this kind of show, I have to assume the risk aversion, the risk penalty has to be have to expect to make 4 times more on a gain than you'd lose to be a good prediction for the show. And I think that's upside down. I think your odds are that you're going to lose 4 times more than you would gain, given the way things are going. And that's just a terrible spot for me to be like, yeah, flip that coin, pull that lever. It's a great idea. And then, holy shit, I lost 25% of my net worth because of your stupid thing. You friggin' bastard. Like, nope, not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'd rather someone do, I didn't listen to you and I made a fucking fortune, you're an idiot. I'd rather be an idiot for that than for telling you to go spend your money on a thing that loses big time and does not have the same amount of upswing for that risk. Next month's reaction mats I've already bought earlier. Madcap is asking on Discord that he bought in before the leaks. What should he do? If you're already bought in, if you already have the reaction farm up, keep making money while the sun shines. Like, you're bought in, keep running the farm. Don't sell the farm until you actually get information. Right? If you've sunk the costs already, just keep eating it. Because I don't think you can abort and make a decent amount of money. And frankly, the wages you're going to make from doing the work, I think, are perfectly fine given the 6 to 12 weeks, depending, of runway between here and the summer release. So if you're already doing it, don't panic, is I guess the thing. I just don't want anybody jumping in because dysprosium went up and it was a particularly good week for reactants this week, because some stuff 2 or 3 weeks ago is finally flushing through the system. That there's still money to be made, and if you're already reaction farming, do it. Like, there's still a good wage to be made until it sunsets. Just don't start a new thing. Because you won't get back your startup cost from where we're sitting right now. Oh, God. So Bobby on YouTube is asking, he's manufacturing, buying, shipping, selling travel scepters for my alliance. Are doing the reactions myself worth it to reduce the price of component manufacturing, or is it not worth the effort? The second thing, not worth the effort. Again, expect to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million per tower to get started, and probably $1 billion once you fill it with reactants. Not worth your fucking time. You're much better off just, the stuff is lightweight enough that you should just jump freighter it in, or if you get lucky and somebody's already doing the reactions, buy some cheapo off of them, but don't do it yourself. The whole Tech 2 vertical integration is a fucking trap. Just do the manufacturing part and worry about that. Getting the passes standing to roll your own reactants is just not worth your fucking time. Not unless you already have a money moon. Is it at all even close to worth it? So just steer clear, do your travel scepter building, don't do the other thing. Joe Webb is asking, how do you feel about investments on pirate battleships? So the only ones I've been keeping a close eye on are the Macarial and the Rattlesnake, because they're so high in they're so high in the meta at the moment. Otherwise, I haven't really looked that deep into them. I like speculating in them because it's easier to soak a bit more money into the system. So it's easier to get to your 1 billion, 2 billion investment purse than it is on a lot of other items. I just don't have eyes enough on a lot of those markets, and if you research it and are keeping your finger on the pulse for what's actually going on, I think it's absolutely a moneymaker. You can totally live off of it. I just don't have enough information to tell you exactly how to do it here on stream. So back to Bobby's question about the moon mining. So building your own components, totally fine. There is margin to be made there. It's totally worth your time to do it. Things like your armor plates and your capacitors, you're going to make 20% over buying them on the market pre-built. Like, go ahead and do that. But your margins on rolling your own nanotransistors or hypersynaptic fibers or whatever, it takes to go from raw to full is like 2 weeks. You have to have multiple towers running. And again, if you don't have a money moon, you're shipping all this shit in anyway, and you're doing a bunch of extra labor for what? Like, how much money are you really going to save in that extra margin after you do all that fucking work? And the answer is not a lot. If you're going to do, like, I draw a pretty hard line in my book that reaction farming is one profession and Tech 2 production is another profession. And the idea, there are a couple of people who do full vertical integration. I know Commander A's is particularly proud of his operation for building jump freighters, but that's special. Like, you are probably working on what, a 2 billion ISK production purse, maybe 3 to 5 if you're really high volume production. To add another 2 to 3 billion in sunk cost, to add another billion and a half in sunk cost, and another 2 billion in flight to make another 5%, 8%. It's a losing proposition, is my point. You're doing a lot of extra labor for not a lot of extra reward. And the guys who do the vertical integration have the SOV bonus for fuel on their side. They have money moons in the chain from people who will supply them at market or better. They are reducing the amount of jump freighter freight that they're actually doing. So there are a whole bunch of other savings that they're getting for the work that they're doing. And they're doing 50 billion, 100 billion-esque production wallets as opposed to your 3 to 5. And at 100 billion-esque, or at north of 20 billion-esque, like, maybe it starts to make some sense. But 5 and under, absolutely not. Just please don't. And if you want to really talk shop, do join the Discord and talk to Commander A's. He is in there, and he knows all about the vertical integration thing. He can tell you how he does it, but I really have to talk you out of jumping in on that market, because it's just a great way to add more liability without adding more value. And as a producer, you don't want that. You want the cheapest net returns you can get. You want to steal someone else's EC so that you don't have to pay for fuel. You want to use a jump freighter service or another freighter service so you don't have to haul shit around. You want to buy up freebie, buy up cheapo buy orders for raw supplies where you can get them, so that you can get cheapo supplies. You don't want to do all of the clicks you have to do for mining, for building everything, and all of the bullshit of managing your own tower network, and the bullshit of doing your own freighting, and the bullshit of doing all your own selling and marketing. Like, each of those things is a profession. And you'd be better paying your extra, you'd be better sacrificing 1% margin to have some other jackass do it for you. Because you're going to make more net returns at the end of the day by making sure you have the stuff. I mean, go do it, but it's a new profession. And do it if I have to tell this to people who mine and build, like, there's nothing wrong with mining on your active time and building in your passive time. Like, that's totally fine. In and of itself, totally fine. And it's fine. Using some of your mined materials locally, totally fine. Still, losing a freight step makes sense. But the thing I keep seeing is that people take this to an extreme and say, well, the mined minerals are free, or I have to mine all of the minerals for this freighter or whatever. And they end up splitting their time ineffectively and ruining the margin two ways by spending their mining time inefficiently and spending their production time inefficiently, and sort of just dicking themselves twice. And that's the thing I want to avoid, is that you separate the professions and you say, well, I am a miner, and when I mine, I'm picking the ore with the highest ISK per hour, I'm getting it compressed, and I'm assuming I'm selling it at JITA, or I'm assuming I'm going to sell it at whatever I was going to sell it at. And so I buy and sell it to myself at that price. And then I do my industry as a new step, assuming I bought the items, right? Even if I didn't, just account like you did. If you went in and said, I was mining minerals and I'm building freighters, for instance, is a popular high-sec thing to do. And you looked at your stuff and you said, well, I'm making my, I don't know what the ISK per hour on high-sec mining is, but I'm making that ISK per hour, and then I'm making 8% on my freighters. I personally would think that you're wasting your fucking time twice, because you're making shit wages, you're basically flipping burgers for nothing, and then at 8%, you are subject to the swings of the market, so that 1 week you're making 12%, and the next week you're making 2%. And so you've sort of screwed yourself twice by doing it yourself, home brewing the thing. And like it can be done. It absolutely can be done. A lot of the nullsec guys I know do it. There's nothing wrong with building your own, doing the reaction farming, especially if you already have access to the towers. If you're not sinking that cost, go for it. But account it like it's its own profession. Count the ISK per hour for its thing as if it were going to JITA, as if it were being done without even considering your industry operation. And then go to your industry operation and assume you're buying from JITA, like assume your worst case scenario, and build your margins off of that, so that when your industry moves, you're making enough margin on the industry. And when your moon mining moves, you're making enough money on the moon mining. You put them together, you're making good wages on both activities. Life is great. But it's a trap. It's a common trap that people jump into, where they say, I'll vertically integrate because that's what industry does. And I'm going to burn a bunch of time building a bunch of shit that's making like 2%, saving me maybe 1 or 2 percentage points on a 5 billion ISK production purse. And I don't go outside anymore because I spend all my time managing this vertical integration chain, and I'm not making much better returns than the guy next to me who's only showing up every other day. So that's my rant on industry stuff. Avoid the trap. Doing two professions is fine. Just be wary of vertical integration. And don't stockpile. For God's fucking sake, don't stockpile. Stockpiling is another profession because you're speculating on the value of materials in the future. Stockpiling is just a great way to put a bunch of money into something that isn't liquid cash. So that's my last part of that. I don't watch the individual Mel seat. I don't watch the general, the raw ores. I only watch the minerals. I mean, if you get off on having inefficient industry processes, I mean, Rule 34, man, but no one wants to lose. I want to help you not lose. I want to help show you all of the terrible ways that people tend to screw themselves so that you don't. Like, the whole point of this show is to teach people. So I'm happy to do that. I'm not even that annoyed about the mined minerals are free thing anymore. Like, it's usually a common troll among old friends that I used to do big rants about it. And like, fine, mined minerals are free, but like, make your time worth something, man. That's just make sure you're getting paid your freaking wage. Like, you want a real rant? I'll go into why people need to learn the value of labor and stop taking shit deals. But that gets into more politics than I'm really willing to get into. And well, the last time I talked about politics, I got here. Let me read it. Let me read it word for word so I get it right. Come on, where are you? Was sure do like harping on Ryan care a lot. I assume you're in love with Obamacare and the mandate right. You are fine with no coverage, even though you have insurance ? No other punctuation in the thing. And go ahead. Yeah, fight me real life politics on a blog about fake internet spaceship economics. Like, Jesus, man. Go back to 4chan. I don't fucking get it. And Angelic Rage has the right point, is that you pay your court mates for other business, because again, it's the individual professions. Like, let them specialize in the professions. Get somebody who likes doing the freighter work. Like, space trucking is a job, so go get a space trucker to do the work for you. Don't sink 8 billion ISK into your own jump freighter and get the second character going so you can drop Sino fields and spend all the time and all the risk when you can just contract it out. Like, you can get your risk completely nullified by the contract system and hauling it with the escrow system. Like, easy peasy. It is worth the couple extra million just to have someone else haul your shit, because they take all the risk on and you pay peanuts for the privilege. So, like, yes, do that. Take up other people's time. Ratbag64 is saying he has max science skills, and doing T2 production is worth it if I'm going to import all the raw mats. I think it's totally worth it. You need to go find the stuff worth doing. And the thing the special extra piece of advice I'd have, especially if you have more than 5 billion to invest, is to look into ships using decryptors. It's going to be a shitty time to be jumping in the market right this second, but I think that's going to be the place to go if you have a really high specialist character. You can sort of jump past a lot of the lower hanging fruit, especially using decryptors to amp your volumes up, if you're doing that. Let's see. Oh. Oh, no, you're fine there. That's it. It's fine, Anthony. No, I had the last 2 weeks I've been mansplained about how to present without saying so often on episode 86. Like, I think I got put into some cringe compilation or featured in some public speaking class or something. I don't fucking know. I've been trying to be better about it, but it takes more preparation, and it takes focus to do it. And I'll work on it. I'm always trying to get better, but like, this is a hobby show at the end of the day. And if you're really that pissed off about like, go watch DeLone Wolf. He does amazing work. He and I just come at the problem from different sides. There's nothing wrong with DeLone Wolf. I like his presentations just fine. And if my stuff is too casual, if I'm too much of a pain in my ass, then DeLone Wolf is the place to be. It's fine. Like, go watch the show you enjoy. Something, vote for CSM. Yes. Well, like, I just like the data science personally. Like, that's my number one thing here. And I want, like, this is a professional hobby ground for me. So, like, I shouldn't say this on air. I'm going to get in trouble that, like, the people I want to serve most in this show are the people who join the community. So that's the people who are on the Discord, the people who interact on Twitter and the Slack channel, the people in the SCC Lounge. Like, those are the people I really want to be in there with, because I like having this economic community. I don't really need to be internet YouTube famous. Like, I'm perfectly successful professionally. That if this YouTube thing just doesn't work out, that I'll be sad. But, like, YouTube subs is not the primary goal. The code dev stuff is the primary goal. The community building is the primary goal. The brand building across all of the Eve Prosper thing is the goal. And I mean, stats, like the individual success stats, like, I like seeing, more blog hits. I like seeing more subs. I like seeing more Patreon numbers. I like seeing more people in the chat channels. Like, I do like seeing numbers go up and to the right. But, like, I don't have a bunch of sympathy for the kind of people who come brigading in 90 episodes in and tell me I need to change fucking everything because they want it some way. And I'm like, too fucking bad. I have an audience. If I go and change, like, there are costs to changing. There are costs to making the kind of shows that other people want to do. And frankly, completely honestly, if I'm not doing the show you want to see, if there's something I'm miserably failing at, make your own show. And I don't mean that as a fuck you, make your own show. I mean that I think that there's more demand for this content, then there are people serving it. People were hungry to watch Mr. Strats do his day trading on Twitch in Eve. And people were excited to see that link when I pimped him. And there is definitely need for more industrial content. A lot of the industrial market blogs have closed down, and there isn't a lot of reporting on the aggregator sites. Like, you don't see any industrial or economic content coming from Crossing Zebras. Rivra there's only a little bit coming out of INN from like Rivra and a couple others. I don't read enough Eve News 24 to talk about Eve News 24, unfortunately. I'm sorry. No hate, just no time. But like, there just aren't many blogs going on. There aren't many new Twitters coming into the tweet fleet about it. There aren't a lot of new people coming into the industry channels and creating content for people. And I want more people participating. And if I don't do a good job, if I don't make the show you want to see, then make the show you want to see. That's why Prosper exists, is that I didn't like the way DeLone Wolf was doing it. I love that he does what he does, but it wasn't good enough for me. And so I did all the work to do the thing. And it took a long time to get started, and it's a long hill to climb, but now we're here, and that's the way. Why do people hate the goat? What is wrong with you people? If I don't have the goat, I look like a giant man baby with like 4 chins. No way. So Joe is asking when the video goes up. So if you go to YouTube right now, you can scrub the video. So that's not a problem. You can do it right now. The live show will be up as soon as I press stop here in its entirety, maybe 15 minutes. And then we'll have the edit up tomorrow morning around 1500, sometime between 1500 and 1800, depending on how shitty my internet is in the morning. That's sort of the release schedule. And Grash, I only got the mansplaining on episode 86, and then I got weirdo political shitposting on episode 88. Because I dared say that the healthcare bill was a abortion, but and like, I mean, to get on the hard points, like the thing I don't know if people really realize is that the shorter the show is, the more prep work, the more work it is to make. So like, it takes me 2 to 3 hours to make the 07 show. That's 3 minutes. Like, to make a 2 to 3 minute show takes me just as long as I'm on the air on a Thursday night. So like, I don't love when people are like, well, if you just did a 5-minute show, like, what if it just do it? Like, just give me what I need now and make it like the little blurbs that CNBC does. And I'm like, you don't know how much work that would fucking be. I'm one guy and I have a real life to do. And this is that I can't do it. I just can't do it. You feel free. But I can't. I just can't. Yes, we did talk about Plex. Don't worry, it'll be on YouTube. You can go scrub the VOD right now on YouTube. I mean, so I probably could get Twitch partnered. Probably. It's just that we only stream once a week, and I think we actually have the sub numbers to justify it. I should I should talk with some of the there's a Twitch meetup in Seattle this weekend. And I'm going to try and go there to talk with them. Um, I mean, the thing I wanted from a Twitch partnership, the only thing I wanted was to be able to transcode my videos, and now transcoding is rolled out on a lot of channels. So that was really the only feature that was really blocking me. And I like Patreon. I mean, I should do it so I can get the money from the Amazon Prime subscription thingy. But like, I should go look at the thing. I shouldn't thumb my nose at free money. I really like the way Patreon works, and I hate a lot of the hyperactive Twitch streaming where it's like, oh, somebody put $1 in the tip jar, everybody dance. Like, I fucking hate those streams so much. I hate when they have the pop-ups that come up and they're like, thanks for subscribing. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Fucking hate those things so much. I refuse to do them. They're so ADD, and like I want to do a try hard serious show. The last thing I need is some little jife of me coming up going, oh, thanks for subscribing. I have an eye patch. I'm a pirate, yar. Fuck. I mean, I should take the Twitch the subscriber money if I can get it. Like, don't say no to free money. I just so Hyper RPG is in town, and they are a spin-off from Geek and Sundry, and they have this great studio. It's fucking amazing. And I got invited to do a general stream there, and I get there and I'm like, yeah, we're doing Rocket League. I'm like mediocre, pretty, I'm better than average. This should be fun. And we stream up with all these other people who are, traditional Twitch streamers. And I think, no, I didn't have the most subs in the room. I was probably number 2 of 5 for total Twitch subs. And the whole thing was like, oh, interrupt the thing so we can do a dancing break. And there's this kid next to me who's got crazy ADHD thing going on, and like, yeah, whoa, yeah, oh, and then I have this cool story about this weird thing that happened, and and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck did I sign up for? I'm too much of a serious, I hate fun too much to be here. And I mean, like, no, you'll sub for the Plex forecast. That's what you'll sub for. I don't have to dance for that. Like, there are a few niches you can do if you want to be internet successful, and that's like, you be an expert, you be entertaining, you either have to be an expert or be like a cult of personality. And I don't believe my personality is funny enough to actually just subscribe on its own. Like, nobody tunes in when I play Rocket League, even though I think it's funny when me and my Rocket League friends are on chat because they're crazy and nutso, and I think it's funny. Nobody wants to tune into that. Nobody wants to tune into me playing Rock Band, and that's partially because setting up the tool chain is such a pain in the ass. People only want to watch me make code and talk about fake internet economies. And I'm fine with that. I'm good at that. But I'm not funny. I'm not entertain. I'm not a dancing monkey. I'm a professional. I'm a fucking engineer, goddammit, and I'm not going to be on here with my dancing for my $1 donations. Like, I don't need to be on Fiverr. Like, if this all goes to shit, it's fine. I know I'm not a dancing monkey, and I've been doing the dumb dancing. But like I go on Dirk's show, and I love Dirk. He's great. He's funny. He runs a good show. But like that show starts getting really drunk, and I feel like the weird DD who's really boring. Like everyone else is having a great time, and I'm like, am I supposed to be funny now? Because I'm not drunk. I don't. You guys are all, fighting fights, and I'm. I like his show. I really do. I think he does a great thing. I feel like I don't fit in. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Just needs like there's plenty of people who enjoy that sort of show. I just feel like that teetotaling Mormon friend that you took to the bar and is like, am I cool now? Are we having fun? Am I driving you home? Please don't puke on my shoes. Not so much like it's not the judging thing of like, geez, friggin' drunks. It's more like, am I cool yet? I got to get back to them. I got to see if I might be on their show tomorrow. It depends on how work schedule works. And I got to talk to Matterall about talking in stations, and I got to talk with. Oh, it's not Fly Reckless. Fuck, what was the other one? We are past 10. I should close up the show. Oh, come on. Open the mail. Legacy of a Capsuleer. That's the one. So I just I gotta fill out my schedule. I was not prepared for the Plex bomb this week. Like I was actually hoping I could skip this week so I could work on dev stuff, but nope. I gotta make the rounds for the Plex thing. Like that's my one pain for being this specialized, is that I'm like the number one on the meta, so I need to be on call for when Plex news happens. When we hit new records, I need to go and do the things. It's important for the brand. I like doing it. I do like being on the shows. I do like talking with people. It's always I do enjoy it greatly. It comes so randomly. Like I can't judge ahead, and I'm gonna be really annoyed if the weather is nice all Saturday morning and then it starts raining again, and I miss the few hours of Seattle sunshine that are around this time of day, this time of year, because oh my fucking god, I'm so goddamn sick of it being moist. Anyway, so I'm sorry guys in Portland for all that fucking snow. That sucked. Like it was a beautiful day today. I actually called my wife. I'm like, we're going down. We're like walking around downtown just to enjoy some of the sun, because it has just been. It's not even like raining. It's just this misty, gray, moist bullshit. I'm getting really tired of it. Didn't think I'd be that guy who go like, oh, it's raining in Seattle. But no, I am that guy now. And I need some goddamn sun. I need some fucking D, or I'm going to be really cranky. Anyway, thank you everybody who tuned in. I'm going to end the show here. We will be back at our new time, 0300, same time for US guys, 8 o'clock Pacific time. If you're down in Portland, I guess this is a terrible time to end it. I'm trying to make it to PyCon. I gotta hold my boss's feet to the fire to see if he's paying for it. So that'd be mid-May. I should be down in Portland. I would love to meet up with people. I do enjoy beers with people. I would love to see more of Portland, especially since should be there for like over a week. Goodbye, Van Fannel. There, I even mispronounced your name. So I'll talk about it once I can get stuff lined up. I need to get my boss to like on the line for, are you paying for me to go to PyCon, or am I paying for me to go to PyCon? Because I'm going to fucking PyCon. So yeah, and I'm more than happy to have a beer with people. I do enjoy beers. I'm not an entertaining drunk caster. Anyway, thank you everybody who did tune in. Again, we will be back next week. It's actually one of the better post shows, in my opinion. Do keep tuned. Do join the Discord if you want to talk with me directly off the air, because once this is closed, basically the chats go away. Thank you. I will be back. I am so tired. Fly safe. Make a bunch of money. And if you lose a bunch of money, do still email me about your losses, because I'm still waiting to collect that rage from I lost my entire net worth because I did what you told me to do. You're a complete hack. I would feel like I made it if we